Today, because of recent drama on YouTube, I decided I wanted to just vent about narcissistic sociopathic con men. And the three examples I'm going to use are Davis J. Aurini, Josh Clark, aka Ashes the Raven, and someone from my own life, a guy we'll call Steve King, not the author. The author is completely separate from him. But those three had a lot of commonalities between them. You know, some patterns emerged from my associations with those three. And what I've seen is that we could all be more prepared to not get caught by con men such as these guys if we see these patterns and recognize them in the future. So, if you didn't get burned for too much money on the Sarkeesian Effect movie, either on Patreon or the independent Fund Anything endeavor, or you didn't get burned on a lot of money on the Fatal Error Network or the Mrs. E project that Josh Clark, Ashes the Raven, wanted to make. If you didn't get burned on any of these things that I'm talking about, just count yourself lucky in the pocketbook, but that doesn't mean that you can't be caught by another con man in the future. So, from these examples, we can take some commonalities to look for in future con men. And the first that I'm going to point out is the eyes on the stars, head in the clouds mentality. You can see this in the Aurini versus Jordan Owen feud that's going on right now. In the way that Aurini wants many more months to complete this project because it's so special and it's going to be so great. It's going to be so cinematic. And he compares himself in Hangouts to famous directors like the Lion King project and how that had some drama behind the scenes. You know, he will say that the reason why everything has to be perfect is because it's going to succeed so well. This is going to be documentary of the year, you know. The delusions of grandeur that you can see with all of them. And by this I mean that person personally feeling like their narrative in the world is something more important than most other people. They are destined for greatness, you know. And there's nothing that anyone can do to stop it. They have this arrogance, this aura about them. These are things that you should immediately, when you see them, you should apply the rest of this litmus test, right? Ask the other questions when you see this, okay? You see that person with the delusions of grandeur, you see them with that giant project, and, you know, and they need perfection for it. Ask the rest of the questions, because, you know, there are some people who do have some lofty goals, and they are genuine, and they are good people, and maybe you should go fund their Kickstarter, GoFundMe, whatever. But this is a flag that you should pay attention to. Next, I would say watch for the person that puts himself in the position of the go-between. Okay? It's his project, and he wants to be the go-between. Even if it looks like it's a collaboration between him and a couple others, or maybe one other person, he always wants to set himself up as the go-between. Because he's power brokering. Okay? Compartmentalizing associates from one another. Because he wants to be able to tell one, hey, I heard from someone else that maybe you're not completely on board with this decision that we've made. I just wanted to see if that was true. And sometimes the rumor itself is false. It's just the narcissistic psychopath con man using that rumor as a tool to get inside your head, feel around a bit. But sometimes you confided in someone and that person dropped a dime on you. But that's okay to the con man. The con man wants to keep you all together, working on the project. Ideally, for free. Okay? So, he'll go between all of these people and say, hey, this person, he said that you're not altogether on board with the project anymore because you disagreed about this thing. I just wanted you to know that I didn't believe anything that he said. And after this project's done, we can just, kick him to the curb. But you and I, we're going to be together forever. And so you just keep working on your little part of my project, okay? And then I'm going to, give you a bonus, when this project is done. I'm going to, put your name, as a co-credit on whatever the project is. I'm going to tell people that you are a great person. And in the end, you're going to shine because we know that you're a good person, right? And it's like a giant game of the TV show Survivor. Because one by one, people start falling out of these projects. Pretty much because this narcissistic, psychopathic con man is a cancer to the project. Now, sometimes funds have to get raised for a project like this. And what do they get spent on? Impressing more people who might be, more fundraisers. This person, if I can show him that we are this serious, then maybe he'll, be one of my fundraisers, and maybe he'll donate, and maybe he'll treat us seriously. And it's all about getting more people to sign on to the project. Meanwhile, when people fall out of the project and people get added to the project, the entire project itself can actually transform into a different project. And you'll see this with the story of Josh Clark. If you research it on the internet, he had different film plans before he came to YouTube. And he burned all of his bridges in a certain community. Then he came to YouTube, and then he got people to donate for different reasons, different pulling of the heartstrings, and some people who gave him money are, kicking themselves in the ass right now for doing so. But then he started the Fatal Error Network, compartmentalized the hell out of a whole bunch of people working on it, and I was one of the first people to get kicked to the curb as yeah, you're uploading content, but fuck you because you've had some questions about me. So Josh Clark immediately saw that threat and kicked me to the curb and started acting as a go-between between me, Brian J. 1962, and Death of Speech, as far as and even between those two, themselves who were still working on the project. What happens with these con men is they like to blame their past failures on others, and one by one, the pedestals that they stick their current marks on those pedestals start falling. You know, when you're in with them, they have nothing but great things to say about you, at least to your face, right? But then as soon as you are not part of the project, you get brushed aside and the vitriol and rage starts showing. Okay? And it's part of the compartmentalization, because you cannot be allowed to talk to the new marks, the new suckers. Okay? We've got to keep these two separate. And this is a control issue, because these con men continuously bring people into the fold and brush people aside. They move from one set of people to the other, because the projects last way too long. Okay? The projects are there to suck money, funds, time, and effort out of suckers. Okay? So after Josh Clark had the Fatal Error Network crash and burn, he moved on to the Mysterious Mrs. E project, where he was getting free labor from local actors after promising them all sorts of stuff. And the dangling of the carrot of money or fame or credit after this project is done is often used by these narcissistic, sociopathic con men. And this is where I'll talk about Steve King. This is a guy in my own life who, 2 years ago, he had a plan. He was going to get a bunch of people together and have them invest in marijuana, because it was about to become legal in my state, Colorado, right? So he wanted to get a license, which, they don't hand those licenses out to everyone. There's actually a quota of how many per county get given out. And he wanted to just farm pot, And he would hold meeting after meeting after meeting, some in person, some on Skype, some hybrid. But, when people started asking questions, that's when they started getting kicked to the curb. Some of the questions that came up were, well, who is this lawyer you're working with? There was no lawyer. Who is the person who owns this land? What's his name? And when I finally found that out, I learned that the land was useless. It was basically desert, dry, filled with sand, crap land. But the biggest thing that he was able to lead people along with was a carrot of, and this is not, I'm not joking, his mother was about to get a giant settlement, and she was going to give him a good portion of the money to invest. Now, whether or not that was true, I never got to talk to his mother, and I was in, probably for a month, I sat in on a whole bunch of these meetings, an hour a day, and immediately I was very skeptical, but, at that point I was just a popcorn-eating troll, and I wanted to see how far he would take this, because it looked like, the buzz of legalization of marijuana and how that industry was just going to boom was just going to be, amazingly big. And it was, for a lot of people, who had a lot of money to begin with. But one of the things that is a commonality to look for here is none of these projects that I've talked about, the Aurini Sarkeesian effect, the Fatal Error Network with Josh Clark, or Mrs. E, Mysterious whatever, and Steve King's pot farm. None of these people had money of their own to invest. They had a dream, but they needed someone else's money. Right? So they start hanging out with people that have a little bit of money, or a little bit of credibility that they can milk for money. Do you think that if this project was only Davis J. Aurini making the Sarkeesian effect, that he would have had as many Patreon donators, the Patreon donors, the Patreon patrons? No. It was the emotional, more sincere Jordan Owen who was able to give people that sense of, you know what, maybe this project will take off. You know, when you come across a snake in the grass like Aurini, Josh Clark, or Steve King, a lot of people can smell it. You know, right off the bat, they just have a sense that, oh, this person is not genuine. They have no emotion, and you know their laugh is fake. You know, really, really fake. And a lot of times, even though they have an inability to really project convincing emotion, they can sense that you know that they are a snake in the grass. They know how to pick a victim, you know, and they know who is a good mark and who isn't. They can at least see that much into human nature. So, if you are somebody who is inquisitive and is going to ask a lot of questions, you're probably first in line to get kicked to the curb. The one time that you will see one of these narcissistic, sociopathic con men have a lot of emotion that actually looks real is when they rage. And they normally rage at the people who are part of their past endeavor. Okay? When they're taking that pedestal that they stuck that person on away from them, that's when they blow the fuck up. And I have a link to a infamous Josh Clark Scream Fest that I can give everyone. It's over on the Ponage All Stars channel, but that rage is not just seen. You know, when people are publicly put in the other group, the out group. That's not when it's only displayed there. Sometimes it's displayed in private, okay, behind the scenes. And it's done so because with that whole separation and compartmentalization of associates, sometimes this manipulative fuck wants people to think that you're still in good with someone, you know? So, this manipulative fuck will just, he'll berate you, and he will, he'll say all sorts of things to your face, but then he'll say, hey, wait a second. I need you to be in this meeting on Skype with this other person. Just for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Just to, say what we've been talking about. And then after, a little bit of time in that Skype call, they'll say, you know what? Let's just stop here. You work on this project that we already talked about, and then I'll get back with you later, and then I'm going to talk to him. And then they'll cut you out of the call. And then they go on talking to that other person. Why were you there? Why did that con man want you in the call? It's because they're using the rub of confidence that you appeared to be giving them. They're saying, hey, this person's still working hard on this part of the project. Now I'm going to talk with you about your part of the project, because the ball's rolling and everybody's working hard, These fucks are really cunning sometimes. They know who to select and who to avoid. They come on strong. They want to sweep you off your feet. They're kind of like the liar in the Rollins band song Liar. They will seem to have the same values and interests and goals, philosophies and tastes and habits, you know, and they will pick a goal that aligns with your goals if they think that they can get more free work out of you. They will tell you that they admire parts about you. You know, they will say that you're very smart, you're honest and you're sincere, and that's why I can work with you, because I wouldn't work with anyone that I can't trust, right? And then as soon as that relationship is over, as soon as you've been used for all you're good for, the exact opposite of everything that they just told you to build up your confidence will come out at you. Plus, any of the little personal stories that you might have told to this person, your worst fears, they will twist that fucking dagger right into your fucking heart. Okay? They will fake integrity while you're their friend. But then that's how they become your fucking arch nemesis. Okay? They look helpful and generous when they're courting you. They will see some little thing that you're working on, and as long as it doesn't cost them anything but their own time in buttering the bread in this relationship and in greasing the wheel, as long as it doesn't cost them a lot, they will do things for you in the beginning, but they're the only reason why they do that is because there's a courtship phase, the idealization phase. There's the phase where you get put on the pedestal, and then there's the phase where you are the trash being taken out. And they will come with suits on. They will pat you on the back. They will be comforting. They'll be generous. But eventually, Dr. Jekyll turns into Mr. fucking Hyde. Okay? And even when they see this pattern themselves, if you were to tie one of them up into a chair and prop their fucking eyelids open with toothpicks, and make them watch this video right now, they have no interest in changing, because they actually, like psychic vampires, they enjoy and feed off this self-destruction and this cycle of defending themselves from their former associates and finding new associates and fleecing them for little gains here and there. But it's all about them trying to match up to their own delusion of grandeur, where they think that they're going to trade up in 50 trades from one paperclip to $1 million. And they can do it all with their own force of will, because they're that good. But they never are. You'll see them lose more than they gain a lot. They have no good work ethic at all. The only thing that they're good at as far as work ethics is they're good at getting other people to work for them. So, hopefully, when we have the next Aurini, Josh Clark, Steve King, whatever, the next con man, we'll be able to pick them out beforehand, before it gets this bad, before people have given thousands of dollars to a project that is now doomed because of the cancer that is the con man.